Hi guys, thanks for joining me. This is Simple Truths. These are truths that we all know, ought to know, or just need a refreshing on. Today we're dealing with allowing God. It's each time I think of the title, I laugh because it's strange to think that us as puny humans can stand in the way of God. But oftentimes God is looking to perfect things in us. He's looking to bring us into that place of deliverance, that place in which we are moving in His fullness. But oftentimes we stand in the way. I'm so struck by Joseph again. Joseph had two sons. One was called Ephraim, one was called Manasseh. Manasseh meant that God has caused me to forget the hardships of my father's house. And it's amazing that this was his first son. And Joseph, even in it, Joseph had been subject to some of the harshest treatment by his family members that I think many of us can't even truly properly understand or wrap our mind around it. But Joseph himself knew that the first thing that had to happen is that he had to allow God to allow him to forget. I'm going to say that again. He had to allow God to allow him to forget. Because sometimes the way we refuse to allow God to allow us to forget is we keep holding on to hurts of the past. We forget that even these things that happened in the past are designed to bring us to exactly where we are now, so that we can stand fully in Him. And so as long as he held on to bitterness, and as long as he held on to the fact that he was aggrieved, the fact that he was hurt in the past, the fact that such and such did this, the fact that I was stabbed in the back, he'd always walk around with that root of bitterness. But the moment he allowed God in, God allowed him to forget. And so it's important that we have to step out of the way of what God is doing. God wants us to forget those hardships behind us. I know many of us have come through many things along the road, and sometimes we often say, I'll forgive but I'll never forget. But God wants us to forget that. And God wants us to allow Him to allow us to forget it, because it's Him. Only God Himself is the only one who can bring us to that place where we are able to forgive, to that place where we are able to forget, to that place where we are able to move on. And the great thing is this: his second son was called, God has made me fruitful in the land of my suffering. You see, the moment we allow God to work in our lives and begin to allow Him to forget us, to forget the things that have held us back, the things that have hurt us, the things that have been stumbling blocks, the things that have stood in our way to defy us, the things that oftentimes have been that badge that we wear. I've been stabbed in the back so many times. God Himself wants us to allow Him so that He can allow us to forget. And the moment we forget, we begin to move into this place of fruitfulness, even in the land of our sufferings. So believer, whatever it is that's holding you back from allowing God to allow you to forget, let it go and allow God to do what God does in His wonderful way. I trust you'll be encouraged. I trust you'll be built up in Jesus' wonderful name.